Hey guys, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. It's really funny. Before I went on, there's an ad that's running on my channel, and it's a vocal coach who claims to be the most popular vocal coach in the world, and on YouTube, that is. And actually, he only has about half the subscribers, a little more than half, and about half the views that I have. Though my understanding of most of his subscribers and his views he paid for. They weren't actually natural or organic. But what's interesting more than that is this gentleman who also did some dirty deeds to me early on in my course and took some things and reappropriated them for himself. He doesn't sing. Get a load of that. He doesn't sing, and he shows no students singing. Guys, whether you think Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy is right for you or not, if the coach doesn't sing and they show no students singing, run from that. Find a coach that sings well, maybe even in the style you want to learn to sing preferably, but don't buy into this. You can be a great singer in 30 days, or I'm the most popular vocal coach, self-proclaimed most popular vocal coach on YouTube. Look down deeper, guys. Does he sing? Do they sing? Do they display students that sing? Not millions are using the course. Millions are doing it. It's just inflated garbage, guys. Anyway, I'm here to actually talk about what makes a singer great. I just thought it was interesting to see the ad on my thing that's running 24/7 to try and pillage you guys and bring you into a different camp. Let's get some shout outs going here, man. I want to thank my notification squad. You guys seriously rock. And guys, if you want to get notifications, don't forget to ring that bell, baby. Subscribe and ring the bell. Also, tell me where you're from, man. I'd like to know, who I'm talking to today. It's going to be a really fun subject, and I think it's going to be a little left of center than what a lot of people think about what makes a great singer. As you know, I'm doing a series called What Makes This Singer Great? Well, that's one thing, because that takes a single singer and talks about their characteristics and qualifications and qualities. In this case, I'm going to talk in general terms what makes a great singer. So the total sum of all the different things that can go into making a great singer. And I'm going to have to do it from my own perspective. So these are just my personal preferences of what I think. But before we get started, give me some shout outs, guys. Let's see where you guys are from. By the way, sorry for the technical difficulties a little bit this morning. We had a little bit of a technical start because they took away the classic version of the dashboard, as you guys may or may not know, in YouTube, and they replaced it with the new beta version that still has some bugs and it's still a little annoying, and they just did it yesterday and didn't really, I don't know that they notified anybody, so we had to figure that out before we got started. So let's see here, Gabriel, let's see, we've got, you know what, guys, I'm getting older, I have to put my glasses on, this is pretty small to see, from Las Vegas, from Birmingham, from Ontario, Canada, we got Paolo, Freddie Mercury was the best, yes, he was one of the best, Montreal, Finland, namaste, yes, I say no mistakes, Honduras, Malaysia, Pakistan, Michigan, Norway, love from Pakistan again, Denmark, Louisiana, St. Louis, Missouri, Hungary, Chester, Bennington, where is that from? Kidding. Malaysia again, Brazil, Denmark, Germany, Virginia, all over the world, guys. This is super awesome. Well, I want to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to do some engagement with you in this. So if you guys can hang in there, let me kind of get through some of my my monologue to you and sharing some of my thoughts first, and then I'd love to hear kind of some thoughts from you, and I'll put it out there as we go along. So the title of this is What Makes a Singer Great, but I think the best thing we can do right off the bat is define the word great. What does the word great mean? And what does it mean today compared to what it meant 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20, 50 years ago? I think that definition has changed a lot. And I think that definition has changed a lot because of media and TV shows and what they throw at you. The TV shows or TV will tell you it's about the high notes. The TV will tell you it's about how beautiful you are, how hot you are, right? The TV will tell you it's all about youth. In fact, most all of these TV shows I know firsthand because I'm contacted almost weekly by a major TV show. Hey, do you have anybody you could send our way for American Idol or, whatever, X Factor, you name it. And the cutoff age is 23. Really. Sometimes they go to 24 and they might say 25 is okay if they look like they're 23. But the cutoff age is 23 and they'll go as much as 25. Now, there are some exceptions. The exception is if you have some really bizarre and contrasty. So if you're a 300-pound sumo wrestler that sings soprano, female soprano, it's so contrasty they may make an exception for you. Another thing the TV will tell you is that licks and runs. That's what's really, it's all about a lick or a run. You know, if you can have a little grit in your voice, sing a high note, and have a lick and a run, you're good to go. Oh, and be 23. So if you kind of put that all together, or if you're a 300-pound wrestler and can sing opera. Anyway, so I want to take a close look at what some of my personal favorite singers are. Now, I know I've beat this to death to some degree, but it is what makes me me. It is who I am. So it's important, I think, to have my own reference point for you guys, and you'll have a different reference point because you'll have different singers that inspire you that you think are great. Now, I'm going to start off by saying when I was doing this list, it dawned on me, something very interesting dawned on me, and that is that virtually every single singer that I chose that's on my list was either imageless or didn't have a big image, or they didn't use their image to depend on their success, okay? Now that's noteworthy because that's changed hugely over the years. But I'm gonna start off with different singers and I'm just gonna tell you what I like about him. Now I like Lou Gramm from Foreigner. In fact, I've got every single one of these singers on this list. I've done a song of sorts, and I'll put everyone in there. I think the only one I haven't done is my own cousin, Sammy Hagar. But for the most part, Lou Gramm. I loved his golden tote throne. He just had a really cool, very bright, forward golden throat sound. His pitch was impeccable. He had some blues and some soul, but he didn't overuse it. He used it appropriately. Incredible range. I liked his lyrics, and he could just throw down on a great melody. Just an incredible melodic singer. Paul Rogers, I loved his sass, his blues, his soul. He's kind of Studley, for back in the day. Not so much now because Studley has taken on a different term as far as growl and scream. But Paul Rogers, just soulful. I love his pocket singing, the way he sang it. And his blues really set the precedent for a lot of blue-eyed soul. So a lot of white guys that tried to sing the blues, Paul was their go-to guy for a lot of rock guys. David Coverdale, I love David. His roaring engine, lion roaring vocals. But notice, David may be a little bit of an exception as far as the image thing, because in the 80s, everyone wore glammy clothing and this and that. But let's remember, David was from Deep Purple. And so his earlier stuff before Whitesnake and then through early Whitesnake was kind of imageless. He wasn't dependent on his image. Same thing with Steve Perry. Now, what they depended on was their greatness as a singer. That's their calisthenics, all of the physiological things that go into making a singer great. So the mechanics of singing, let's call it, that's what made him great. So same is true with Steve Perry. Same is true with Mickey Thomas. His high range is effortless, like he's floating on just a tube or a cloud. His beautiful, perfect vocals. Steve Walsh from Kansas. And a lot of these guys, like Steve Walsh, is also a fantastic keyboard player. So great frontman, amazing vocalist, great lyrics, or songwriter, melodic songwriter. Kerry Livgren wrote most of the lyrics for Kansas. Aretha Franklin. Now this is interesting because most all the guys that I've listed, that were my idols, were guys. There were very few girls, and even though Pat Benatar was around, and even though Ann Wilson was around, and some fantastic singers, they didn't interest me so much. In fact, I'm going to go a step farther. This is going to sound a little weird, but believe it or not, early on, Freddie Mercury wasn't my go-to of who I wanted to sound like. Did I like Freddie? I loved his songs, and I loved Queen, and I loved the arrangement. I loved everything about the band itself. They played well together as a band, the orchestrations, again, the composition. But not so much did I want to sound like Freddie Mercury. I wanted to sound like Paul Rogers, Lou Gramm, David Coverdale, right? Those guys. So Aretha Franklin was an exception. So again, faceless, again, not big pomp and not, craziness. But she just moved me a lot in my heart as a singer. Ronnie James Dio, I remember when I first heard his voice, I go, who the heck is that? It's like, oh no, now I gotta learn, now I gotta figure out how to get my voice to sound like that too? That's impossible. Though I did later in life, I figured out some things about what he did. Sammy Hagar, just a great, I Can't Drive 55, that's great. Brad Delp from Boston. An unsung hero, John Waite from the Babies. Now, guys, I encourage you to look him up. Just a phenomenal singer. So he had his own stuff. He was in a band called the Babies. He had a band that he did with the guys from Journey for a minute. which was called Bad English, and they were just a great band and great songs. Robert Plant, of course, I was definitely moved by Robert Plant, and Bryan Adams. Later he was more down the food chain. I could go down this huge list, but like I said, it's interesting that none of them depended on their image for greatness. Now, so the other things that I wanted to mention is that what I kind of categorize, and I've identified 12 things that stand out about these singers, okay? Now, this is just me. You may have a different thing, and I'm going to ask you at the end what you think of is when you think of great, what comes to mind. But for me, I'm going to start with number one. Like I just said, they didn't depend on their image for greatness. Number one was tone. I already said that. Number one is tone. How did they get good tone? So I'm going to ask some questions about not just what made them great, but how did they get great? What did they do to get great? Because we can always say, oh, this is great, that's great, this is great. But that doesn't help much. It doesn't help you much for you to get great. So I want to make this about that. So tone. How do we get good tone? It happens over time with effort. Remember, I don't care if it's Bruno Mars, I don't care if it's Christina Aguilera, I don't care if it's Robert Plant or Freddie Mercury. These guys didn't just come out of the womb and be born with great tone. They earned it. They deserved it. They worked at it. They sang a lot of hours. And even if they sang incorrectly, they still sang a lot of hours to get that personal, identifiable personality and tone, uniqueness in the sound of their voice. So they sang a lot. Jimmy Page wasn't born, by the way, with a guitar in his hand and just all of a sudden he started playing Stairway to Heaven or Over the Hills and Far Away or something. He had to work at it. He had to work long, hard hours at his craft. And so do we with our voice. So if you think it's just something you're born with, think again. Everybody, I don't care how good they are, they had to work at their craft. I cover all of this in my singing course called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. Now, some people need a little more hand-holding, and if they're smart, they would be smart to go, wow, I'd really like to, excuse me, sorry about that, a little dusty in here. Don't worry, I don't think I have COVID, I'm good. But they had to work hard at it, and some people need a little more hand-holding. So it's good to have good technical advice and practice good technical mechanical things first so that you embed good habits. If you do that, then it's going to make your life a lot easier. You're going to run into a lot less headaches or injury. Absolutely. You're going to get more longevity, more stamina, more range, more power, more control. All those things come along for the ride. And it increases your toolbox of all the different things that you can do with the voice, the calisthenics of different singing in different styles, singing with different ranges, having your tone be consistent end to end. It's not, when you sing up high, it sounds pinched and squeezy and sounding like you're throwing a cat through a hula hoop. Right? I mean, you get all those things. And pitch. It helps with pitch and whatnot. So you have all these agility exercises and whatnot. I cover that in my singing course. So pitch, we all have to work at pitch. By the way, to this very day, when I go to record, it takes a minute. After I warm up for about 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes it takes longer. The voice is a muscle, and like any group of muscles in the body will be trained as such. I never wake up going, gee, I hope I can sing today, ever. I never, ever, ever do that. Or, gee, I hope I can sing that song with the high note today. I never do that. It just takes me a little longer to warm up because I have the technology of how to do it correctly. I can get there consistently. That's why it's important to train and train correctly. So pitch, yes. So I walk in, even though I've warmed up for 45 minutes or an hour or longer, and it takes me a minute to get the headphones on, to get the right compression of the volume and the this and the that and everything that goes into that, and to find the mean average. Let's call it the tessitura of pitch. Tessitura means the sweet spot of a range, a vocal range. In this case, I'm going to use that term to mean the sweet spot of where you want to sing pitch-wise. Sometimes you can sing a little flat, sometimes you can sing a little sharp, sometimes you want to be right in the center. So I always want to kind of find that mean average of the absolute pitch in a song. So even to this day, I struggle with that kind of pitch to get into pitch. And then once I'm in, I'm in. You could play something a half step over here, and then I could go right back to here to listen, and boom, I'm right back in the saddle. Soul. By the way, I'm back to what these singers all had great about them. So if we lost track of what the topic was, what made those singers great? My favorite singers, what made them great? So we just said tone and pitch, soul. They all had a bluesy element to them, all of them. And that comes, how do you get blues? It comes from life experiences. I remember, I forget who it was, I think it was B.B. King, who said, soul ain't nothing but a good man feeling real bad, right? And that isn't always true, but it's kind of funny because what it really amounts to is saying soul comes from life experiences. So someone out there that's 14, 15, 16, 17 years old is saying, well, I don't really have a ton of life experiences. Well, okay, so it's also come to mean on a TV show how many licks you can throw down, how many runs you can do. That's not soul, folks. That's not soul at all. If you listen to an Al Green, or you listen to Marvin Gaye, or you listen to Aretha, or you listen to a great soulful singer, they use their licks judiciously, carefully, well placed, right? So Stevie Wonder, so Aretha Franklin was called the Queen of Soul, and Stevie Wonder was kind of considered the King of Soul as far as his as Michael Jackson was called the King of Pop, Stevie Wonder was kind of the King of Soul. And yes, he had a lot of runs, and yes, he had a lot of licks, but it was his emotion and his heart and his passion and his sensitivity and all those things that made him a soulful singer. And also, soul usually means that you have so many licks and emotion in your repertoire, they're kind of interchangeably linked, or intertwined, I should say, that you don't rely on the same lick over and over again. Something else comes out of you in a different way, right? And it's just this kind of talking like I'm talking to you now. It's just like a sentence that comes out of something that they want to express. That is more in the light of what true soul is really all about. So heartache, pain, emotion, joy. Joy could be soulful. The whole spectrum of life experiences, combined with the calisthenics of the licks I talked about. And you have to work on your licks and your runs. Those didn't come naturally for these guys either. They had to work really hard. Hey, yeah, 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 yeah. All those licks. And in my course, I have a whole entire section devoted to licks and tricks, where I show you starting at, the epic, typical, hey, 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 a little faster, hey, 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 right? All the hey, hey, right? We walk through step by step by step. All these licks that you hear that sound like they're all different, no, they're repeatable licks. Now, there are a few exceptions. The lick in Tennessee Whiskey is a little awkward. It's a lot like Sam Cooke, but he changes it up a bit. I even covered that in YouTube. I do a whole tutorial on Tennessee Whiskey where you can see how he got that lick. And once you learn it, then you learn a lot of other people's licks, and you put that in your arsenal or in your repertoire, in your toolbox. So anyway, so working on licks and using them in an appropriate time. That is real soul, folks. It's not just, I'm going to just use this lick over and over and over again, as many times as I can. Because here's another thing that's happened in modern music, and we're going to talk about some things that have happened, is a lot of times now, instead of singing about a story or engaging people or inspiring them with your lyrics or with your song, it's all about pointing the fingers. Look at me. No, look at me. Look at me. I hit the high note. Look at me. I did that lick. Everything is, look at me, look at me, look at me. Now, it's kind of funny because nothing's changed in life, folks. When you're a little kid and you say to your parents, hey, mommy, daddy, look at me, look at me. And you're doing this trick, or you want something you want them to say, nice, Johnny, that's really good. No, look at me. I can do this. Look at me, look at me. As we become older, we become a little more subtle at it. We buy a nice car or a nice house or a yacht, and we go, hey, look at me. Now, we don't have to come out and say it. We just drive up in this Mercedes or this Porsche or Ferrari or whatever we got, and we're saying look at me without saying look at me. Okay, so nothing's changed, but a really good soulful singer, or a really good singer, period, isn't going to constantly say, hey, look at me. That'll come out anyway. The look at me should be, I'm changing you. I'm inspiring someone else. I'm changing the world. I'm not looking to be idolized and worshipped. I'm looking to take this gift, this craft, and this art and push that forward and sort of as a sacrifice to others so that other people can be inspired, okay? I want to say that, okay? So again, I'm back to my singers here. Don't lose track. These are my guys here, and I'm still covering them. Next, 4. I'm only on number 4. 4 is energy. right? Energy. Now, energy, I don't mean frenetic energy. Everything's got to be, hey, little thing, let me light your candle because my mama's your hot Or, I said, hey, little, put your kitty in the middle and swing like I didn't care. So I took a big chance at the high school dance with the missus who was ready to play. I'm not talking about that, though there is a great place for that. Rap music. No, I'm kidding. There's a great place for that. Energy, like a sport, right? Singing is a sport. And I refer to singing as a sport a lot because it requires a lot of stamina, a lot of strength, a lot of body stamina, right? But there's different kinds of energy, okay? A rock singer belting out a note, for example, has a very different energy than Sade doing Smooth Operator, or Marvin Gaye or Al Green, like some of the people we just talked about, or whomever you like. And by the way, Billie Eilish, you could include in that. She's got an energy about her. She sings very soft and very quiet. She's very on pitch, which is interesting because it's hard to do that, be that quiet all the time. But she has a certain mystery and energy, even though she's not belting out a note. So that's understanding where energy comes from and the different kind of energy. And I'm not trying to be esoteric and mystical about energy in that sense. I just mean a burning from inside and it comes out. It's not real, you wouldn't want to hear me sing today, would you? Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't want to hear me sing either. No, it's like, you're going to hear me sing because I've got a fire in my bosom and it's going to come out. All right, phrasing, number 5. Back to my guys again. Phrasing. Soulfully singing in the pocket. I've had a lot of people send me a request saying, hey, I don't know how to sing on a beat, or I don't know where the singer is singing on a beat, okay? Now, that is an art, it's an art, it's an art, it's an art. And let me explain this. When you're a drummer, and all you drummers out there will really appreciate this, a drummer can play a groove right on a click. So let's say I have a click that's going, that's the click, and it's on headphones. I got this in my head. Now I go boo gat boo gat boo gat boo gat boo gat to that click and be very mechanical about it. Okay, there's something called the swing or a percentage of a swing of how that drummer can play to a click outside the mechanical rigidness of the click. So instead of going boom dat boom dat boom dat, you go boom dat boom dat boom dat boom dat boom dat boom dat. Now what's different about what I just said? The snare is on the backside of the click. Boom cat boom cat. So think of it like this, lazy. Boom, cat, 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 cat. Now he could play the hi-hat. Here we go. Tick tick tick. He could go tick 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 or tick 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 or tick 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 tick, or he could go. And he puts a swing or a percentage of how far outside the beat he's going to play that drum kit. And this is true for lots of different things for the kick drum, boom, boom, cat, super, boom, 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 cat. So let's say my click is click, 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 click. And a normal drum would be boom, cat, or boom, cat, boom, cat, boom, cat. But John Bonham goes boom, boom, cat, boom, cat, super, boom, cat, super, boom, boom, boom. Gat, so he's sitting way outside the click. Ken, what does this have to do with singing? You're talking about drumming. Yes, I'm getting back to that. Back to my guys. Is singing in a phrase. I could go, hey, little thing, let me light your candle, cause mama, I'm sure hard to handle now. Yes, I am. Hey, let me think, let me light your candle, cause mama, or I go, hey, let me think, let me light your candle, cause mama, I'm sure hard to handle now. Yes, I am. I'm swinging the beat with my phrasing of the way I'm singing. So I can use these percentages. So you say, Ken, well, how do I do that? Exactly like what I said. Instead of trying to sing, think of the beat, boom, 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 Try to come on the back side of the beat and play with it. Have some fun with it. Maybe I should do a whole entire series on this so you guys can get this, because I get asked that question a lot. So back to phrasing. Now phrasing should have put it as part of soul, because it's a very soulful thing to do, right? And the swag of that and the way you sing a lick or do a stab, a quick run or something, a vocal run. Hey, if I went, hey, or hey, I have a swing in the run, and the more swing I put in the run, the sexier the run is, okay? So let's move on. Bluesy pushes and pulls. It pulls on the beat. It pulls on the beat and pushes the beat back and forth. And you dominate the beat or the groove with your singing. You dominate it with your voice. All right. Or dominate the rhythm, I should say. Number 6, power. I love a powerful singer. I'm just a sucker for a great, powerful voice. So all of these singers that I mentioned, now it's weird because I should have mentioned Marvin Gaye, and I should have mentioned Otis Redding, and I should have mentioned Wilson Pickett, and other guys, you know, that are, not Wilson not so much, but Al Green, guys with softer voices that I like too, but that's not my first go-to for what I want to sound like. So I love a powerful voice. Now I teach in my singing course that if a singer learns to sing powerfully first, they can always come back and sing lighter, okay? I call it runner's body. If I get you cut like a runner, you know, a modern day runner, you, no matter what style I put your voice in, no matter what sport I put that runner in, they will excel at every sport that they do because they're physically fit to handle anything within the sport. This is true with the voice. So a powerful singer can always sing a ballad, but a soft singer can't come out and sing powerfully. So what do you choose? You know, do you want to only relegate yourself to singing softly in R&B? Well, maybe, if that's the only thing you like and that's what you want to do, and that's okay too. Nothing wrong with that. Billie Eilish could never sing powerfully. Lana Del Rey could never sing powerfully. But a lot of people could come back as a powerful singer if they kept the agility in their voice the way they train. Now, a lot of powerful singers that only sing powerful from a street standpoint have a very difficult time singing light. Their voice gets wobbly and their pitch, they lose it and whatnot because they force the sound so much, they haven't come back and put elasticity and, you know, resiliency back in the vocal folds themselves. I cover that in my singing course. So anyway, you want to build up correct muscle structure to accommodate all of that. Number 7, back to my guys. All these guys have this in common, range. I like singers with range. Most people do. Now, it gives them much more diversity with their voices. Now, range is earned. Let me say this again. They didn't just wake up with some crazy range. Some of them might have. That's really unusual, but it's earned. Now, it's earned in different stages and it's earned to different degrees. Some of it might become easier than someone else. I had a very hard time with range. Very, very difficult time with range. But I worked it and worked it and worked it. I'm the white men can't jump, right? I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. I had to earn getting that slam dunk in the basket because I was a short guy of singing, so to speak, of my range. I was a short range guy that learned to stretch that range and turn it into something. So it's not just inherited or you're born with it. And having range doesn't make that range sound good. So I've heard a lot of guys with range, and when they get up top, they're like, dude, you should have stayed in your tessitura, in your comfort zone, in the best sounding part of your range, because just because you have range doesn't mean you should use it unless you know how to use it and the tonal quality of that range sounds good. That's true for a blues lick too, guys. Guys, don't be doing blues licks that suck. It just makes you look really bad. It shows how immature you really are as a singer. Learn the lick first, really, really good, and then insert it somewhere. Don't just try to do some lick and be off key or off pitch or don't have the lick right. You know what I mean? There was a funny thing I think Tchaikovsky said. No one should be allowed to play the violin until they've mastered it. The joke being that it's so awful to hear a violinist that's, squeaking out those notes when they're trying to learn it, that we want to hear them at their mastery, not in all the stages in between. So guys, get your chops together, get your runs together, your licks together. Don't expose your dirty laundry in public, and then come out and show us what you're made of. Stamina, back to my guys. Stamina, number 8. I don't love it when I see a singer live. In fact, I hate it. And 3 songs in, they're spent. 4 songs in, they're spent. They're getting the audience to do all their singing for them. In the chorus, you know this one, right? Now, that doesn't mean that singers always do that to get the audience to sing, but it does mean it's a huge crutch for a lot of singers that when they start to lose their voice and the audience participation. Now, good entertainers can entertain and get people to do that and skate by on that, but I feel like you've cheated your audience. They're there to see a tight-roping walk, a tightrope act, a high wire act, to see if you can really pull off all the crazy things you did on the record, right? Can you really pull this off live? A really great musician, I'm going to get to that in a minute, will do something beyond that. So I'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, this is lame and irresponsible and robs the audience of why they came to see him in the first place. Okay? Number 9, back to my guys. Melodies. I love singers that create beautiful, haunting, memorable melodies. And have great songs, right? I noticed that there's a lot of singers coming out that even if they have the calisthenics and they're quote unquote great from a mechanical standpoint, their songs suck. They're boring or they're not very memorable. And that's really true of a lot of modern music. I'm not saying it's not true of music from the past also, but a lot of modern music, it's very, very true of. And I'm just like, I'll never remember that song. I try to remember that song and I can't remember that song. So singers that write great melodies and great lyrics. It draws us into their voices. I also like how their voices relate to the instruments in the band. How does this singer have an interchange back and forth with the guitar player? AC/DC. Black, hit the side. Been long, glad to be back. Is a hit loose from the noose, right? There it goes back to that phrasing of his swag, singing outside the percentage or the swing of the beat, and then that cool interchange with the drums and the bass and the guitar, the rhythm guitar. So I love that. I love that pocket phrase singing around instruments. That's one of my favorite things. So how they relate, and then also how the melodies relate. If it's a ballad or something, how that relates to the chords being played, whether that's on guitar or piano or whatever, how their note choices of those chords as they go by. Now, by the way, the one thing that even if their claim to fame is different, I'm going to talk about uniqueness, because it's funny. Melodies and songs. Whoops, I dropped my thing here. I want to get back to number 10. Sorry about that. Number 10 is confidence. Confidence could mean a lot of things. And in today's day and age, confidence usually means arrogance, or they think more highly of themselves than they ought to. Let's just say it that way. To me, cool confidence was like Jim Morrison. I mean, I think of him as like being really mysterious. You look at the guy and you go, what's he thinking? What's going on in that brain of his? And his confidence, when he walks in the room, he doesn't have to tell everybody how great he is. Freddie Mercury didn't have to tell everybody how great he was. All these great singers, they just walk in. They know who they are. They're comfortable in their skin. And they know how great they are at something. I think you might remember my last live stream where I said, if you're really, really good at something, and let's say, in my case, I'm really good at guitar. I'm really good at singing. So let's use singing as an example. If I go to a karaoke bar and there's a bunch of hacks there, or even if there's some good guys, do I walk in that bar intimidated, going, oh no, I wonder if she's going to be better than me? I walk in there going, first of all, I don't even want to sing because I sing so much as it is. It's like going to work sometimes, right? So when I sing in that sense, or I'm singing a song, I want to sing it because I love it and I want to do it. I don't want to go in let me show you guys a little something how awesome Ken Tamplin is. But the confidence that I have, I'm not walking in there going, I wonder, anybody here is better than me? I'm walking into this place going, I don't think there's anybody here that's going to take me out. You know what I mean? Actually, that didn't even run through my brain because I'm so confident I don't have to think about it. But the point is having that kind of confidence. I love that in a singer that's so good at what they do. They're not trying to prove it to everybody, but they're just confident. So without this confidence, by the way, a singer has no authority in their voice. Let me say that again. Without confidence, you've got no authority. How can you tell somebody to do something without authority, or ask them to be engaged, or inspire them, or call them out, or whatever it is, if you're not confident and don't have authority? Why should I listen to you if you don't have authority, right? They're not even sure if they want to listen to themselves. Like I said a minute ago, you don't want to hear me, do you? Anyway, so I have this slogan, this saying, a singer is only a singer because they have the guts to be one. And we've talked about the last time of all the guys that are, the crazy guys that aren't really great singers, but they had confidence and they had character. They were character voices. So now I've got to say, the claim to fame for someone that's great doesn't necessarily have to be the mechanics of how awesome they are as a singer for all the things I just mentioned. They just happen to be things I like about singers that make them great. You might like a different singer for a different reason and think they're great. And the claim to fame could be that they're just unique or different, or they have a style you relate to, or they tell stories, their lyrics resonate with you, or just whatever that is. character voices, things that stand out, that also makes people great. We discussed that last time, so it's not just the mechanics. I covered that hard in my last webinar that we did, last live stream. So character voices. Number 11, I'm still back to my guys. Number 11, consistency. Man, I like it when singers have consistency because I know that I can count on them as a singer. So like when I know a new song comes on by this singer, I usually can go, I'm probably going to like this. It's like, stamping Disney. There's the Disney. If Disney puts it out, it's probably good. Even if I don't like it, it's probably good, right? Because they have a certain quality and a level of quality or caliber that they achieve, or a bar they've set. And within this caliber or quality, people can depend on that. So consistency is way up. So it's not where they're great in just one song, but they're not great on one song and then terrible on another song and then great on one song, terrible on another song. So Kazaroder says, when it comes to singing, it's good to work on, I guess, for a lack of better term, character. Yes, that's good, Kazaroder. But I'm going to answer some of your questions in a minute, so hang tough because I want to get through some of this, and I'm cruising right along here. So bear with me. So yeah, so character is great, but character comes from singing a lot, doing it a lot, stepping into a character role of your singing, being quirky maybe a little bit. But let's get back to consistency because that got me derailed talking about the previous thing I was discussing. Like I said, I can usually count on liking the singer right away, their art, no matter what song they put out, and it makes me more willing to be open to their newer music. Think about that. Where instead of just going, I only like their older stuff or I only like that song, a great singer makes me go, let's check it out. I like their voice so much. They covered a song I may not even like. A great example of this is when Adam Lambert covered, what was that song he did that got a standing ovation from Simon in American Idol? Anyway, it was a song that was by kind of an alternative band from the 80s, and I never really liked the song. And when Adam Lambert did it, because I think Adam's great, he's a great singer. He has his weird things and shrill notes he does up high and stuff, whatever, I don't care. But yeah, and he did it, and I go, wow. He opened me up, it's today's your birthday. I forget that. I think it's kind of sad. And all the years I'm trying, the best I ever had. It's just he turned it into this beautiful, haunting melody and did some great range things at the end. Cool, good stuff. Consistency. So, number 12. Ding, 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 ding. 12 is control, mastery over their instrument. I'm back to my guys again. I hate it when a singer reaches for something they can't do and they don't pull it off. It's like, my thing goes, did I just say that? I did. Anyway, they get pitchy. Their runs are not crisp, but they're lame. They strain on certain notes or vowel sounds. They sound good on one song. They don't sound so great on another song. They don't have total control of their voice. And by the way, let's get back to one more thing. There could be elements that also make them great. Their fashion. We talked about David Bowie. Their spiritual views, what they sing about, maybe political views and so on. So there's lots of elements that go into making a great singer. So what other things make a great singer? Well, we talked about lyrics, a great song, a singer that moves you, a singer that inspires you or motivates you or moves you to an action, something. It could be excitement. It could be melancholy. It could be something sad. It could be prescient or talking about a story or casting a vision for you or your future or telling a story about someone else you relate to, but it's relatable and it resonates with you. So a singer that resonates with you. Now, the synergy, it's kind of interesting because there's a lot of singers, and don't throw your hate comments at me, guys. It's my opinion. It's how I feel. I don't like Bono's voice that much. In fact, I don't even like any individual member of U2. It's just me. I like his passion. I like his emotion. I love his songwriting and his lyrics. But what I love as much as anything is how he synergizes with U2 as a band, as a collective. So a lot of these guys, Robert Plant, Freddie Mercury, a lot of these guys, it's how they synergized with the band that made them even better or be looked at in a different way and put on a pedestal because the band works so well together as a unit, as a collective, that the singer really got to shine. And so that singer was like, wow, he's known. But it's kind of interesting because you take that singer out of the band, hear them do their own stuff. Like, for example, most of Mick Jagger's stuff is like, shmeh, you know. I mean, there's a couple good, you know, Beast of Burden. There's a couple good things here and there. I think it's still Rolling Stones. Sorry. But you take him out of his element, it's not my favorite. Put him back in the Rolling Stones, I'm like, that's Mick Jagger. That's what we came to know and love about the singer, was how their identity a lot of times is actually truly found, their greatness is found within the synergy of the band. Same is true for the Beatles too, by the way. Even though a lot of them went off and wrote some really great stuff on their own, and they did excellent stuff, they really shined when they were together collectively as the Beatles. So, and by the way, none of them were actually virtuoso musicians, none of them. But it's the collective together that made them virtuoso as a band together, as a synergistic collective. So now I want to say that with these bands, a couple other things too. A lot of them too is being a great entertainer. So, you know, I don't love going to a show and being bored stiff and going, and I've seen a lot of really great, very talented, musically talented bands where I'm like, fifth song, I'm really bored. I love their songs. They're great musicians, but you're really bored. There's no entertainment value. So I didn't walk away going, wow, that was awesome, or I want to go see them again. I was so entertained. It should be everything. It should be the whole package of all of that, not just one or the other. And I think that's really important. Now, getting back to this thing about live is, I think that for me, and you might be different, because I like artists that are more excellence driven by excellence and greatness, I go to a show going, will they take me to a new level of their greatness? I only got a snapshot or a small portion of what they did on the record. Are they going to show me, are they either a manufactured studio band, and unfortunately a band like Boston was, right? It was all studio stuff, and you heard them live, they weren't that great. Whereas you go see Kansas and you go, whoa, dude, or Yes, or a progressive band especially, but other bands, Whitesnake, other bands, and you go, dang, you know, they'll go off on all these solos and all these improvisations, and they're way better than the record. You going, I get to hear and taste and digest an appetite for all of the things I didn't get to hear on the record. They get to go off and show off all the stuff they wanted to put on the record, but they were limited to time and songs, etc. So again, I like to see bands that, you know, can show me live, that take me and move me and show me how deep they are, how deep they go, I should say, as musicians, as singers. That's what I love. So did they take you places much farther than the record? Did they meet your expectations, or were they subpar to the recordings, like I just said? Did they give you different, interesting melodies? Let's get back to the singing now part. Was there spontaneity, you know? If all of the power went out and the band was just, boom, someone unplugged them, could they take that same set and do an acoustic set and still blow your mind? Like, are they at that caliber and that level of musicianship where they're still going to, you know, oh man, it was awesome. We don't know what happened, but lightning hit the building and all the power went out and everyone was bummed and thinking they were going to not get to see their favorite band. And then they broke out their acoustic instruments, and I think it was even better, man. I'm glad they did. I would have never got to see these guys do an acoustic performance like that. It was just awesome, right? That's what I mean by running deep and having layers, like and peeling back like an onion to see what this artist is actually truly made of. So to me, that's what makes a singer great and a band great. Makes a great singer. Did they speed up the song? Did they slow it down? You know, now I need to touch on a negative part to this, and I know I'm kind of rambling, but guys, this is golden stuff. This is lifetime information. So hopefully you can really go back and rewind some of this stuff and hear what I'm saying. But what's changed in the music business, not for the better, in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Now, I'm not saying that some of these elements weren't always there, okay? They certainly were. But what has changed in the singing business, or how has the term great changed? Because this is about what makes a great singer, right? So how has that term great changed? How has it changed for you, especially if you're younger and you don't have the history that I have of what I think great is, okay? So for the most part, it seems only the beautiful people get the audition. That sucks. You know, that really sucks. It was funny, there was a funny meme, and the meme said something like, music was a lot better when ugly people were allowed to do it. I just thought that's awesome. It's true, right? Youth, age is worshipped above substance. Let me say it again. Youth, or being young, is prioritized and or really only counted as relevant far above an older person. Well, that really sucks because as you get older, you have a lot more life's experiences and you have a lot more you can contribute and you run a lot deeper. So if you only get stuff of a kid that's 16 or 17 or 18, how many life experiences can you have when you're 20? I mean, you can have a few, but you can't write about a lot of things. You can't. Now, it's kind of interesting if you listen to old Aerosmith songs, when he says, all these lines in my face getting clearer. And he was 22 when he wrote that song? Well, okay, so from his vantage point and perspective, back when he was 22, when he wrote that song, that was a truth to him at 22. But I wonder how he'd look at those lines in his face now and the history of all the knowledge he's acquired and could rewrite that song and give us a lot of really cool information as a veteran of songwriting. Now, by the way, we do have dinosaurs. And I don't want to say that because right now being 30 or 35 or older is irrelevant. You're no longer part of relevancy in the world market of music and singing. You're irrelevant to the TV, to the world, to the media. But it's kind of silly because it's not all about singing the high notes. It's not all about runs. It's about our storytelling. It's about our life experiences. It's about our tone. Well, that tone comes over time. If you listen to early Dio, his voice is very different in his older years than it was in his early years, and it got better with time over the years. True for virtually every single singer that I know of until they got really old and wobbly and didn't know how to take care of their voices. But there are some exceptions to age. Robert Plant, we said, Freddie Mercury said, a few of those guys became the dinosaur / ninja Yodas that made it on the other side that are still venerated because of their past greatness and is translated to greatness now because we can all look back and see the bar is set so high for these guys. How are we possibly going to be this great? And that's true, but there's an awful lot of other guys that slip through the cracks, but try to be a new person doing that. And so I mean like a new person that's older coming out, and it's a lot more difficult. And that's one of the really cool things about the internet right now is that it bypasses the gatekeepers of a lot of people that say, now you're too ugly, or now you're too young, or now you're too old, you're not young enough, or whatever. You could go right past that and find your audience without the gatekeepers that have suppressed and subdued and forced or cut the piece of the puzzle to fit the puzzle they want to project out there so that they can manipulate the masses. So we're in a really cool place right now. So it's not about how many licks and runs you do. It's not just about the contrast. Again, we're talking about how greatness has kind of gone out the window. So let me say it again. Beauty, age, singing the high notes, licks and runs, contrast, right? The 4-year-old girl that can scream like Tatiana from Ginger, being contrasty. Those are the things the media has called great. But folks, that's not what greatness is about. That's not great. The other thing is too, and I love new, fresh things, by the way. I love different, as long as it's good and not just sensational or just, different for the sake of getting outside the box. I don't love that. I love something that's great. If it's outside the box, cool. It's fresh and different, cool. And I can give lots of examples of this. In fact, I'll give you one. My daughter's into salsa. She's a professional salsa instructor. She has an unfortunate disease called chronic fatigue syndrome, which has kept her, not being able to do what she loves, unfortunately. I have a whole video on YouTube about this. But she listens to some of this music that's, they take and modernize like old salsa music, and they do all these really cool, groovy, contemporary beats to it, which I love. That's very creative, And what was it? There was Antonio Banderas movie, something about dance, or there was a dance movie, whatever, and there was a famous band that actually did some music in that movie, and they've gone on to do a lot of other songs. Very creative. So I love that. I'm not a live in the past guy, but greatness for greatness sake, not sensationalistic being great. That's not it. But there's some other additional things that have happened in music, and then I'm going to open this up to you guys for some Q&A, and that is that it's become very dark and very evil, especially in the rock world. I mean, yes, there was Iron Maiden and Never the Beast and Ronnie James Dio and, a lot of the Eastern or the mysticism stuff from early Led Zeppelin. And there was some dark stuff for sure. But the volume has really been turned up on the dark side, on evil, on blasphemous things. Now, this is true in a lot of modern music too. I mean, I know that Lana Del Rey, for example, calls herself a white witch. I know there's a lot of people in the industry. And Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac, for example, I mean, that was a song about a witch. Or Deep Purple's Burn, that was a song about a witch. But I mean really turned up the volume. So it's become very dark, evil, blasphemous. Everyone's infatuated with death. Death, you know. Sam Smith, one of his, you know, his video with his lover in the coffin, you know, everyone is like, ooh, death. Because it's stark, it's final, it's creepy. It's like going to a horror movie, you know, it's, ooh, wow, you know, right? But there's an oversaturation. It's like, come on, guys, surely there's something else we can write about, right? And I'm not going to give a big negative spiel, but I got to talk about the dark side, the negative side to what's happened in modern music, especially in hard rock and metal. Torture. There's torture. Always somebody being tortured, you know, you know, something tortures. Blatantly pornographic. Can't we write about anything else, guys? Do we have to only write about pornography or show pornography or whatever, or talk about, you know, sexually explicit things? Surely there's more things to write about. We write about panic, putting people in a panic or being panic-stricken. We like dissonant sounds, things that are discordant. You know, gives you shivers because it's like, oh, it's out of key, or it's just a little, two chords rubbing together that are wrong. Screaming, growl and scream in place of melody. I think that the scream, to be honest, has been a substitution for a lack of talent. I'm sorry, but I'm coming here to say that. Not saying there isn't a place for scream, but everything has become scream. Why? Because it's a lot easier to scream than it is to sing a great ballad. Try it sometime. Now, it's going to hurt your voice, but you'll see that it's a lot easier to do rap, let's say, mediocre rap. Good rap's really hard to do, but mediocre rap or rap in general is a lot easier to do that than have a voice for singing a melody. So it's become very popular, kind of like when the grunge movement came in, and I know I'm going to take some hate for this too, is guys were looking at 80s metal, they're looking at Yngwie Malmsteen, they're looking at, you know, all these great guitar players that are like, oh my gosh, you know, Dan Huff from Giant, Eddie Van Halen, all these great guitar players going, I could never do that. I don't even want to take the time to do that. I'm depressed. I hate my dad. And I just want to write about that. And I don't even care if my guitar's that in tune. And so grunge came in, and kids related to that because they didn't want to have to work at the virtuosity of what it took to do the 80s metal stuff. So they gravitated towards that. Now, I'm not saying there weren't greatness that came out. Chris Cornell and Lane Staley and all these guys that were great. You know, Temple of the Dog. You know, all these great, you know, really incredible bands. Faith No More. You know, some of the bands that came out of this era. But for the most part, that's what happened, and it really destroyed virtuosity, okay, for the most part. So melody, screaming instead of singing. Dependence on auto-tune. Holy cow. This runs the whole gamut of every genre. I don't care what it is. Michael Bublé to Madonna. I don't care who it is. Everybody is using this horrible thing called auto-tune. Learn how to sing, folks. Come on. Learn how to sing. Don't rely on some computer to do it for you. Otherwise, you will forever sentence yourself from now on to listening to things that are only driven by computers, computer-driven music. And I can promise you this, it's soulless, emotionless, passionless. It strips away the voice of nuance. And it's okay to have carbuncles. Carbuncles are what make music cool, you know? I could tell you so many different things. The solo on Hot Blooded when he goes, and his finger slips off the string, and they go, no, leave it. Leave it. That was cool, man. It sounds cool. Or, you know, just take those old records off the shelf. You know, that intro. That was a mistake, that piano intro. He came in early. And they said, no, it's cool, man. Leave it. That was cool, right? So it's all these carbuncles and living life and being imperfect human beings of how we turn that into something cool that makes music great. That's what we love about it. That's what's cool about it. Anyway, dependence on autotune instead of learning how to sing on pitch. Lack of desire to practice, which just discussed the grunge movement and so forth and forward, to really get good at an instrument. And yes, we've had some extent of this over the years. There's lots of people that just, you know, want to wear a slick looking jacket that shines and call themselves a star. But we want to do music because we love it. We want to do music because it's our story. We want to tell our story. We want to do music because it's an expression of who we are, not just because we want to be famous. That's silly. You know, be famous because you're so transparent in what you do, and you're so good at what you do that makes you famous. Not because of what low-cut top you're wearing or what, you know, sensationalistic thing that you did. So that would be my suggestion. And I'm going to open this up for questions here any second. Give me 1 second. I'm almost done. So we're sucked into some things that I'm going to come out and I'm going to really put my foot in my mouth, okay? So, yes, we've had some of this to a small extent over the years, but not consuming the majority of what it has become. So most of the majority of music has become this. We're so sucked into liking things to be politically correct. Let me give you an example of this. I love Chris Stapleton. I think he's a great singer. I've heard a lot of singers say he's the greatest singer in the world. That's their opinion, and they're entitled to it. I don't think he's the greatest singer in the world. I think he's a great singer, and I really like him. He's cool, you know? There's a lot of great singers out there, right? And I don't think Chris Stapleton is the greatest singer in the world. He's great. He's certainly at the top of the heap. That's cool. But they're saying it to be accepted by the world, to be politically correct on someone that's on the up in media, so they can attach themselves to worshiping this thing over here so it makes them look good. That doesn't mean to criticize everybody, and I hate the armchair critics too that can't do it, but they're going to tell everybody how bad they are. That's not what I'm talking about. Have your own opinion about something. You guys remember the emperor's got no clothes, right? And if you haven't, I'm going to give you a quick story. There were two guys, they were alchemists, which means you turn nothing into gold, right? And they're going to make the emperor this amazing gold robe that he was going to parade around for all the people. And they went night after night after night, and they were really swindling him out of a bunch of money. And finally they convinced him, and they appealed to his ego. Right? Get that? Appeal to his ego to be able to convince him that this golden robe that he had was so pure that it was invisible, right? But it was there, and they'd try to put it on him, and he'd pretend to wear it because he didn't want to look like a fool. They're making him a gold thing, and so he winds up getting this fake invisible gold robe, and he parades it in front of all the village people, and everyone's going, ooh, ah, wow, whoa, dude, that's awesome. When there was nothing, the king was naked, and it took a little child to go, but he's got no clothes. And then we're going, he's got no clothes, he's got no clothes. The emperor, he's got no clothes, he's naked, he's got no clothes. And then everyone chimed in going, he's terrible, he's awful, he sucks, he's got no clothes, right? Don't be the rest of the parade to say how beautiful they are just because everyone else says it. Have your own opinion, be the little kid. Does he have clothes? Do you like his clothes? Is it really made of gold? Is it made with a pile of shit? Did someone polish a turd and call it gold? I don't know, but there's a lot of that going around. Have your own opinion. That's something else that's happened in the music business. Being politically correct. The media pushes it to the masses, and we eat it up with an appetite, and that's a shame. But on the other hand, like I said, don't be one of those miserable guys, out there just finds fault with everything. Find good in stuff. If it's good, praise it. If it's not that good, just shut up and let it go by. If it's not that great, it'll pass, and you don't need to tell people how awful it is. So I want to revisit now. Let's get back to the positive side of this. If you guys want to go back to my list of what I think makes a singer great from a mechanical standpoint, tone, pitch, range, telling a story, soul, entertaining, virtuosity, all those things, please revisit that. And also, there's a really good, but let's start with what's a really good rule of thumb that makes a singer great, or a great singer. A singer that moves you, one that inspires you, makes you want to maybe be like them or have what they have, right? Makes you think, forces you to think about subjects or things you hadn't thought about yourself, helps you out of depression or a funk or being sad, whatever. Excites you, gets you round up, man, I'm gonna go, this is a party song or whatever. Makes you smile, puts joy in your life, puts a smile in your life. Makes you want to sing. That's what makes a singer great. It puts all these amazing emotions in you, and it makes you want to sing. Whether you literally sing or not, but it makes your soul want to sing. Practical ways to get there. Perfect practice makes perfect. It's not just practice that makes perfect, it's perfect practice. That's what I show in my course, is how to get to the mechanics of what makes someone great, so that you're not thinking so much about the artistry, because you have the body, the runner's body, and you can go play in any sport you want to. Start small, guys. Don't take on something so big that you can't obtain right away and get discouraged. Stay within your element. Stay within your zone. Take on something really small, something easy. Pick something well within your reach. That's really important. Don't go, I want to sound like this amazing Bruno Mars or Steve Perry or whomever. Start small. Take baby steps. Work your way up to it. You'll get there. Just take some time. It took them time. It'll take you time, right? So something well within your reach. Be realistic. Have realistic expectations. Block out the bad guys, the negative guys that say you suck or you can't do it. These are just miserable people trying to make other people's lives miserable. They're miserable, so they're trying to make you miserable. Don't listen to block those guys out. Do it because you love it, not just because you want to be famous or a star. Consider how you can make a difference and tell your unique story. That is very, very important. Be you. Be you and show you to the world. Okay? Thanks for listening to a long monologue, guys, but that is, in my opinion, what makes a singer great. Let's open up some questions. So when it comes to singing, is it the good work? Is it good to work on a lot of singing, for lack of a term, better character? Absolutely, yes. That's what, sing to your, sing like no one's listening, and sing loudly. Dance like no one's watching, sing like no one's listening. Nikolai, to me, to be a great singer means always getting better each and every time, especially at a live show. Awesome, Nikolai. Hey, and another one to that is, and if you aren't, it's not so much that you're only as good as your last gig or last performance. It's that, what did you learn, even if you had a bad show, what did you learn from that show, like what you said, to take that and make your next show better? That's happened to me a lot of times. What is this, Nicholas Orthodox? Rob Halford said he ripped his voice to pieces night after night. I learned the hard way too. Yeah, he did. And he really hurt himself. That's very true. Edwin Latin, every singer is amazing in their own way. Yeah, I'd say so. That's a good way to say it, man. Good job, Edward. Nikolai again, you're so right, Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy. We need heroes. Yes. We are a world in need of someone worth looking up to. Heroes. Not someone that is going to show us how to be bad. Not someone that's going to show us how to be arrogant or pompous or that condescending, or that they're so full of their own egos that they can't get outside themselves to help or do anything beyond their own egocentric self. So awesome. Very excellent point, Nikolai. I love that, man. Sometimes we just need funny songs. We need important songs. Yeah, exactly. We need laughter. We need things that make us laugh. It may even be uncomfortable, like something we know, that draws too close to home, but it's funny. I get it, right? In fact, that's what most comedy is. Most comedy is hitting a funny bone of something that you kind of know, well, that's true. That's pretty funny, right? So, Creepy Meow. For me, great singer is someone who can phrase all emotion through their great performance as a listener. Awesome. Yorn Land, talking about your land. Soap with Snoopy. Soap with Snoopy. Sounds like if you mix David Coverdale with a bit of Dio. Yeah, I think Yorn Land does sound like that. I agree. Tony, David Lee Roth had great tone, one of my favorites, though I know he didn't have a lot of good vocals. Yeah, but what made David Lee Roth also great was he was such an entertainer, and it just oozed out into singing. So I'm just a gigolo, and everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing, right? You couldn't help but laugh and smile with the guy. So you're a great beatboxer. Actually, no, I'm terrible at beatboxing, but there are some really good beatboxers out there. Eric, Randy Bachman, Steven Tyler, Michael Sweet, along with Carrie Underwood, are perfect examples of power singers. Yep, they are. They're great singers. Range, what about Mariah? Great range. But, Samuel Cesaris, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to say something about that. Notice, the world never called her what they called Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin was known as the Queen of Soul. Now, did Aretha have the same range as Mariah? No. Did she have a bigger voice? Absolutely, a bigger voice, right? Did she have soul? Soul for days. Could play piano like there's no tomorrow. But they called Mariah Carey Songbird. Songbird. Now, right? Now, I know what they meant, but what I think they also meant was she was very preoccupied with a lot of calisthenics and her whistle register and showing off in her voice rather than singing for the song. They didn't say she had soul per se. They said she was songbird, right? Okay, let's kind of move on here. And I'm going to close this up here in a bit, guys. Eric Adams, Manowar, killer singer, yes. All right, well, listen, guys, don't forget, I'm going to do this every Thursday and Saturday at 9 a.m. California or West Coast time, and hopefully this information was beneficial to you. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Again, my notification squad, you guys seriously rock. If you guys want to get more of this, please like and subscribe, hit that notification button, and I just want to say thank you for joining me, and we've got some more special stuff coming up, so stay tuned. God bless you, and until next time, peace out.